What if you had the power to change the way people viewed a certain group of people? Well, through my magazine, Affinity Magazine, I have been able to change the way people view teenagers. Before, people viewed teenagers as uneducated and only concerned with celebrity gossip and concerned with really vapid teenage issues. Through Affinity Magazine, we showcase a lot of social justice and politics topics that many people don't think teenagers are interested in. Midway through my 9th grade year, I decided to continue my education in Kenya, Africa. In those 6 months I spent in Kenya, I read through all my teen magazines that I had since I was young. So I read every magazine front to back. And as I was reading these articles, I realized I could not relate because it only showed one type of teenager when there's a wide scope. It only showed the teenagers that go out all the time and hang out with their friends, the teenagers that are popular, but never really showed the teenagers who are introverts, the teenagers who really don't like going out, and the shy teenagers, and the teenagers interested in LGBT issues and race issues. They only showed one type. So for a year, I thought about the fact that these teen magazines were not authentic, and they weren't even written by teenagers. And for a long time, I did nothing about it. I just read it, and I just said, oh, interesting. So for a year, I decided when I was 16 that I wanted to make a change about this. Now, making a magazine is not easy. It's not something that you can just wake up and just say, okay, I'm gonna make a magazine. So I did my research, and I figured out what programs to use to design the magazine, and I figured out how to design a website because I learned how to use Photoshop when I was 13. So now, the biggest dilemma was actually getting stories. Now, I like to talk a lot, and my friends like to talk a lot. So through conversations with my friends, I figured out many stories that I would showcase in the first magazine. My first issue, my friend talked about being adopted during the baby girl genocide in China. My other friend talked about coming out as gay, as a person of color. And those were the stories that we highlighted in the first 2 magazines. So in summer of 2013, I called my friend. I said, do you want to be a cover of a magazine? She said, sure. So she was the first cover of my magazine. And in that magazine, it had a wider scope of teenage life. And I thought it was a great magazine that was really authentic, and I was proud of the product that I had. Now, for the next 2 years of my high school career, because I started at Affinity my sophomore year, for the next 2 years, every single month I released a print issue that I designed all by myself, and I occasionally wrote maybe 95% of the stories. And I did this while balancing out my schoolwork. And I even did this while in my senior year as I was applying for colleges, every single month consistently. And the problem was, the product was great, but nobody was reading it. People in my school knew I had a magazine. They knew me as the girl with the magazine, which is great because you can be known for a lot of different things in high school. So I was really happy that people noticed that I had a magazine, and people really supported it because it first began in my high school. It started with my friends and me talking to my friends and showcasing my friends. But the magazine was only getting 200 views a month, so nobody was really reading it. So at the end of my senior year, I had to make a choice. Would I continue this magazine or would I stop? I was this close to just finishing the magazine because I wasn't getting the reception that I wanted. I wanted to make a difference and make a change. But how could I make a change if nobody was reading? So I really pondered on it for a long time. And at this point, I've always been big with social media. I love tweeting. Tweeting is my life. So I had like a decent following on Twitter because people thought my tweets were funny. So I decided, at that time, the Affinity Twitter only had about 4,000 followers, and it didn't get many retweets at all. So I decided that I wanted to reinvent Affinity and really change it around and work harder, because if you do something, you have to do it 100%, and I was only doing 50%. So I decided to make it a priority. So I sent out a tweet and said, who wants to contribute to my magazine? And a lot of people replied back, and I was shocked. It was a lot of teenagers, of course, because it's a teen publication, but the fact that they wanted to get involved really shocked me. So in that month, when I reinvented Affinity, and I now opened it up to more teen voices, where it's an open forum, where any teen can submit. I got 30,000 views in the first month, because it went from a monthly magazine to now a daily, where I would publish articles every single day. Now, the views went up to 30,000. The followers went up to 10,000, and we were just getting so much support online. People are like, I'm so glad this magazine has been made. This is what I've been waiting for. And it was really nice to know that people were finally paying attention. Now, if I would have stopped Affinity in 2015, I don't know what would have happened, but it's impacted so many people. Now, Affinity went from getting 200 views and only having 10,000 followers to now we're verified on Twitter. We just hit 50,000 followers yesterday. And now it's read in over 220 countries, and we get 500,000 views a month. And it's more than just the views, and it's more than just the fact that people are reading. It's the writers too, because the writers are a big part of the magazine. Without them, there would be no magazine, because they contribute. I knew my magazine was really making an impact when I got an email from a writer who was recently accepted, because it's an application process you have to go through, and I select everyone one by one. Right now, I have to go through 500 applications for writers, so I got an email from one of my writers, and she said that she was really thankful for the opportunity to write for Affinity. And she told me that before Affinity, she would spend time in her room writing about her fixation with suicide. And she really was happy that I believed in her and believed in her writing so much that I chose her to write for Affinity. And she said since her articles have been published, she has gotten emails from people saying her articles have really meant a lot to her. And she even got an email from another publication who wanted to feature her article. So it's more than just, at this point, Affinity is bigger than me. It's something that's for everyone. It's not just me, because it has impacted my writers more than anything. I write recommendations for my writers. One of my writers she approached me about writing a recommendation for her, and she ended up getting into her school. She got into Tulane, and she got into the University of Wisconsin. She was really thankful that I wrote a recommendation for her. And some of my writers, they apply for internships, and the fact that they have that early experience with Affinity, it really helps them. A lot of them get summer internships. So Affinity really does help teens, because it gives them the experience early to have published work. And I work with them. I have a lot of writers, but it's a close-knit community where I do work with them one-on-one, and I give them feedback on their articles, and if they need anything, they can just send me an email. But it has shaped them up to be professionals, so it's really wonderful that they're getting the experience early, because the age range of my writers is from 13 all the way up to 19 to 20. So it's really been a very great learning experience for them, and it's just a great platform that was missing. A lot of publications only cater to older adults, and only adults are allowed to submit. But with my platform, it allows the teenagers to be able to submit and really make an impact with their articles. I get emails, and I get tweets, and I get messages of people saying, wow, thank you for this article. I never knew there was somebody else out there who felt the same way that I did. Now, it's not always easy. It's never really been easy with Affinity. I do Affinity full-time while I'm a I'm also a full-time college student. It's not an easy thing. The one thing I've learned with starting a movement or starting any movement through social media, you'll always get a lot of hate. And people will not like the fact that you're standing up and making a difference, because some people, they don't like the truth. Some people are going to be with you and some people are going to be against you. One of the things to start a movement through social media is you have to be honest. No matter what, you have to stand by what you say. And no matter how many people don't like it, you have to stand by what you say. I had a writer, she wrote an article about weddings on plantations, and basically her article was about how can people have celebrations on the backs of slaves. And that article, we got 3 lawsuit threats in a week, and it kept coming every day. Somebody wanted to sue over the article because in the article it mentioned a lot of businesses that do have plantation weddings, and they did not like that their name was in the article because it made them appear negative. But they don't understand that having weddings on a plantation where a lot of slaves died it's not a positive thing. So my writer that wrote it, she said, let's just take it down. I don't want us to get in more trouble. And I told her, people are going to be against you or with you. They're scared that you're telling the truth, and you're not lying, you're honest. That article is true. You should not allow them to scare you, because people feel threatened when somebody threatens an institution that's been around for a long time. People have been having weddings on plantations for a long time, and it's wrong, but nobody stood up and said this is wrong. So anytime you go against the grain, people are not going to like it, but you have to stand by what you say. So we stood by that article. The article got over 38,000 shares. The people who wanted to sue us never ended up suing us because they knew it was wrong. And you also have to have teamwork to start a movement. I didn't do it all by myself. I had my writers write these articles that help us generate views on the website. Without them, there would be no Affinity. Last week, the whole website was deleted. Everything was gone. Over 3,000 articles, all gone. And you know, when that happened, I really cried because I wasn't crying for me. I was crying for the hard work of all the people who have written all these wonderful articles. And I just didn't know what to do. And eventually my mom told me that, you have to just start over. You shouldn't stop, just start over. And to me, I could not imagine starting over. All these articles just gone, all the people's hard work. So I had to really make a plan. So eventually I found out that the information was backed up, so it could be retrieved, but it was gonna take a week for it to be all retrieved. So in that time, we get a lot of views in a month, and obviously the readers will see that the website is not there and there's nothing there. So what I basically did was I made a mock website, basically the website how it looked, and I had to remake it again so people would notice the difference. And the one dilemma was no articles. So I told my writers, and I said, guys, can you submit some articles, please? The data, everything is gone, and it won't be back for a couple of days. Can you submit articles? And they all submitted articles. And the readers did not notice that the website everything was gone. Although we only had 5 articles up. And this was Grammy night, so we had to write a lot of articles about the Grammys. And people did not notice that there were only 5 articles up on the website. Because working together with my writers, we were able to bring back the website, although it was not the real website, it was a makeshift. And eventually all the information came back and all the articles came back. So although I've done this all, for the most part, on my own, I've had help from all the readers, from all the writers, because with no readers, there'll be no website. And the third thing, to start a movement, you also have to be strong. I get so much hate. I get so many people saying they don't like Affinity. A lot of people saying teens should not have a voice. You should not be giving teens a platform. What they say is stupid. And it hurts me because I believe in the things that my writers write. And I believe that everybody should be able to have an opinion, regardless of people like it or not. So this past week, we wrote an article. We were the first one to write the article. I actually wrote the article, and it was a reader who brought it to my attention. It was about a spokesperson for a national brand, and they tweeted something really racist on Twitter, and they deleted it. And one of the readers sent me the screenshots, and I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. So at that moment, I had to decide, should I report this? Should we spotlight this? So I made the decision to post the article up, and immediately it blew up. Immediately, everybody was outraged immediately, and Affinity was the first website to report this. So immediately after I posted that article, about 2 hours later, I get a call from a representative of the person, and they told me, can I please take down the article, and that they're young, they didn't know what they were saying. And I said, I understand that, but I'm not taking down the article until they apologize. And they said, we'll give you an exclusive interview. I said, no, not until they apologize. So then they said, well, you'll be hearing from our lawyer. And I said, okay. And because I'm not gonna back down, because what they said was wrong and they should be held accountable. And again, people will be for you or against you. And that's what I've learned. I was scared because I'm 19. I did not anticipate somebody wanting to sue me for telling the truth. But it's really nerve-wracking that I had to deal with that, people wanting to sue me. And I got that call right after I came from class. And I'm just like, okay, I just had a test, and now somebody wants to sue me. So it was really nerve-wracking. Although I was strong on the outside, and inside I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So eventually, we just kept the article up, and it ended up getting over 78,000 shares, and other news outlets like New York Magazine started reporting it and citing our website because we were the first ones to break the story. So although in the end it will hurt them, but you have to take accountability for the things that you say. I feel bad because, you know, it will alter their whole life. But if I didn't report it, then somebody else was gonna report it. And you should stand by your truth. And even now, I'm still getting a lot of people sending me a lot of emails and hate, saying that I ruined the person's life. And I realized that, you know, you have a choice in life. They made the choice to say something like that, something racist on social media for the world to see. I didn't do that for them. I just report the news. What people do with the information, I cannot control. So after that, the representative called again. It was another representative of him. And they said that it was actually an assistant who called and threatened to sue. And the representative actually said they liked the platform of Affinity and what I'm doing. And they actually agreed that his comments were completely ridiculous and racist. So what they did was they said that I could do an interview with them about the comments. So at the end, standing by what you say and standing up and making a difference, there will be a lot of people who will hate you and a lot of people who won't agree with what you say. But at the end of the day, if you know that you're doing the right thing, it's worth everything in the world. So after I did the interview with them and I asked them really, really tough questions because I'm not gonna sugarcoat what they did. And the interview was really tough, but they answered the questions really, really well. So it's been a long ride with Affinity, but it's been worth it. It's changed a lot. It's changed the way that companies interact with their readers. Affinity is different. I tweet back at people. Somebody tweets at me and says happy birthday. Somebody tweets and says it's my birthday, and I tweet back and say happy birthday. People send me emails and messages saying, hey, can you write an article about this? And I say, okay, we can write an article about that. And I ask my writers to write about it. And it's just changing the way that companies really interact. And it's making a big difference. I have writers that write for Complex, for Huffington Post, for BuzzFeed, and they say they love Affinity, they love what we're doing, and they love the articles. They always share the articles. And even Jane Pratt, the founder of XO, Jane said Affinity is the future. So it's really hard standing up and making a difference, because a lot of people, they don't want to make a difference. A lot of people are content with just not saying anything. And there's people who want to make a difference, but they're afraid. I did not wake up one day and anticipate that Affinity would get this big and that I would have such a huge platform to talk about things that people don't want to talk about. I never anticipated it. I just knew that I myself wanted to make a change. And I knew that in order to make a change, I had to really, really go against the grain and take a step that many people did not want to. As myself, my change has inspired other people to change. My platform has inspired my writers to write articles that are different and that people don't want to talk about. And those articles change the perspectives of many people and inspire many people to make a difference. During Syria, when they wanted people to evacuate, and because of the Syrian war, one of my writers wrote an article about how you can help them and included links where you can donate. And that article alone got over 3,000 shares. So this platform makes a difference. I remember we had, one of my writers, she had an article about a makeup brand called ColourPop, and they released a new line of concealers, and the names they had for the concealers were very offensive to people of color. So my writer wrote an article about it, and the article blew up to the fact that many people were sharing, many people were saying they were going to boycott ColourPop, and eventually ColourPop changed the name of their concealers because of all of the outrage. So people think social media, you just go and tweet, but it's more than that, because I've been able to use social media to make so many changes, all from just sitting and tweeting something or publishing something. So you don't have to go out there to make a difference. You can make a difference right now. You can start your own movement online. Affinity has changed the perspectives of many people about teen life and about what teens know. And this is our latest issue, our winter issue, and you can see the anti-Trump issue, because at the bottom it says Trump is president, what, WTF America. And all of the articles in this issue just had stuff about Trump and like the UK BritX and just many things that happened in 2016, both the good and the bad. So if you want to start a movement, you should not wait for other people. You should do it yourself. And you can start by just social media. You can start by tweeting something, and it will spread. Just like Black Lives Matter spread. It was a hashtag, and now it's a full foundation organization. And people are creating protests and programs through Black Lives Matter. So as a person, I never thought that I would be doing this. When I first started Affinity, I told my friend, do you want to be the cover? And I never thought it would get to this far at all. It's not what I pictured. I didn't picture that I would be my second year of college and I'm still doing Affinity, because 2 years ago I thought it was the end of Affinity. But I've been able to balance going to school and overseeing over 400 people, because I have editors and I have writers for Affinity. I have to oversee that, and I have to do social media, and I have to reply back to a lot of emails. And I've been able to do that through also doing my schoolwork and also having a social life. So, but my advice to anybody that wants to start a movement, you have to be honest. What you say, stand by it, and don't let anybody ever make you retract what you say. You have to be a team player. There's that African proverb that says, if you wanna go fast, go alone. But if you wanna go far, go together. And you have to be strong. When you stand up for something, you will get a lot of backlash, and people will want to bring you down, and they will make you want to shut up. But you have to just be strong, because when you're making a real change, everybody will feel it. And people will feel that it's either positive or negative. But you have to stand by what you say. Okay, well, I'm done.